Hello my dear friends, welcome back once again. As you know that we have started a series of lectures on discussing the human skeleton and all the bones of the human body, right? And we will discuss each bone in detail inshallah in the next coming lectures. Now I am going to divide the human skeleton into its perspectives. So the human skeleton, we are going to discuss in this lecture the divisions of the human skeleton, right? But let me remind you, in the previous lecture, on the first lecture regarding the human skeleton, I have introduced the human skeleton and we have discussed the functions of the human skeleton or the bones, what do they perform, right? Now let's go towards our lecture and divide the human skeleton, right? So we say divisions of human skeleton. I hope you will watch the lecture till the end. Divisions of human skeleton. Now look carefully. We should know that our skeleton is divided into two parts, right? The first thing, skeleton is divided into two major regions. The first is that skeleton in your body or in my body which is present totally in the center of your body, right? That skeleton, once again I'm telling you, that skeleton which is present totally in the center of your body, the first one, and that skeleton which is present in the peripheries of your body. And the peripheries of your body, I'm talking about these, right? So the skeleton which is present right in the center, and the skeleton which is present lateral to the central skeleton, right? Central skeleton and lateral skeleton, axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton, right? So these are upper extremities or upper limbs. So is the case for lower limbs, and I will show you while I will discuss practically there, right? So human skeleton is divided into how many parts? It is divided into central skeleton and lateral skeleton, right? Or we say in our book it has written as the axial skeleton, right? Skeleton. And the second one that I will discuss later is the appendicular skeleton, right? Axial skeleton is called axial. Why? Because it is present in the axis of your body. Axis. And axis means center. Axis means center. So that skeleton which is present in the midline of your body, right? I will say midline of your body. That skeleton is called the axial skeleton. Now let's divide this axial skeleton into further more parts, right? It's very easy. Look, your axial skeleton, if we see here, the axial skeleton, you can see your head, or we say your skull, totally lies in the center of your body if he looks towards you, right? So this skull part or this head is lying totally in the center of the body. Okay, this is the first part. Then you can say your rib cage, right? Your rib cage or your thoracic cage lies totally in the center, right? And then you can also see that your vertebral column, right? Vertebral column lies totally in the center of your body, right? So we say the axial skeleton is subdivided into three parts: the vertebral column, the thoracic cage, and the skull, right? And we will discuss each and every bone of this axial skeleton in detail, right? So let's do this. It's very simple. So axial skeleton, first of all, we know that it is the skeleton which is present in the midline or in the center or in the axis of our body, right? And it is divided into how many subparts? The first one is your head. or we say skull. The second part is what? Second part is your thoracic cage, right? Thoracic cage. And the third one which we will discuss is your vertebral column. So let's write it here, vertebral column. Vertebral column. Right, it's very simple. So head, thoracic cage and vertebral column, these are the skeleton, these are the parts of the skeleton which lies totally in the center of your body. Okay, or we say, look carefully friends, we also say that this is the skeleton which supports the appendicular skeleton, right? We say the axial skeleton is the skeleton which supports appendicular skeleton, right? And we will see later how. Right, now let's go in detail of the bones of your head. Right, first of all, your head is divided into two parts. The head is further divided into two parts. The first one is your skull, right? A skull, or we say, I will write it as cranium. I will not write skull. You can also say skull, but no problem. I am writing it as cranium. And the second part of your head is your face, right? So we will discuss the bones of the cranium, the bones of the face. We will just name them to remember them, and then we will discuss in detail of every bone, inshallah, in the next coming lectures. Now, if you talk about your cranium, right? So your cranium is the uppermost part of your body, the uppermost, the superiormost part of your skeleton, right? And the cranium is subdivided into two parts. The cranium is subdivided into two parts. And what are those? Those are, I will write it like this. The cranium is further divided into narrow cranium, and then there is your Bezocranium, right? The narrow cranium and the Bezocranium. How? Look carefully. For example, let me make a diagram here. Look carefully. Here is your right, like this. Now look carefully, my dear friends. Here is your cranial fossa, right? We have taken up the upper bones, right? The narrow cranial bones. Here is your brain lying. You know, here is the neural tissue, or your brain is present in this area, right? So this is your, totally this is your cranium, right? Now the part of the cranium which lies above the brain, that is narrow cranium, and the part of the brain which lies below your brain, that is called the Bezocranium. Very simply, if I will say that this is, for example, this is your brain, and this brain is lying on certain bones, and then there are some bones which cover the brain superiorly. So these bones which are present above your brain, right, these are called narrow cranium, and those bones which are present below your brain, those are called Bezocranium. That's so simple, right? So narrow cranium and Bezocranium. In your Bezocranium, right, you have two bones. In Bezocranium there are two bones, and what are those? Those bones are your sphenoid bone, and then there is your ethmoid bone. sphenoid bone and ethmoid bone, and while I will discuss about the skull bones, I will show you those sphenoid and ethmoid bone each. Here we are just classifying the bones, the skeleton, right? Okay, so your Bezocranium comprises of how many bones? Two bones, the sphenoid bone and the ethmoid bone. Then towards your narrow cranium, right? And your narrow cranium comprises of how many types of bones? It comprises of two groups of bones, those which are paired and those which are unpaired. So first we should know that there are some certain paired bones and then there are unpaired bones. So I will write unpaired bones and paired bones. From paired and unpaired we mean, paired means which will be 2 or 4 or 6, and unpaired means which will be 1, 3 or 5, right? So let us name all these. We will know that how many unpaired bones are there. For example, if this bone, I'm talking about this bone, right? So if you can see in the camera, right, there is none other bone like this one, right? So this is your frontal bone, and the frontal bone is present only in the frontal region of your cranium. There is no frontal bone other. So frontal bone is only one. So we say frontal bone is a unpaired bone, right? Let's write it here. There is unpaired bone which is frontal bone, right? And then there is the posterior side, right? This one, this is occipital bone. Occipital bone. So frontal and occipital bones are the unpaired bones of your narrow cranium, right friends? And then there are the paired bones, and paired bones are two, right? Two paired bones. What are those? Those are the two, right, parietal bones and the two temporal bones. So let me write here the parietal bones, right, and temporal bones, temporal bones or temporal bones. So let's write frontal bone is 1, occipital bone 1, frontal bone, parietal bone 2, temporal bone 2, sphenoid bone 1, ethmoid bone 1. So how many total bones are present in your cranium? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4, 8. Total 8 bones are present in your cranium, right? Next, face. Let's come towards your face. And your face comprises of two groups of bones, right? What are those groups? Those are the paired bones and the unpaired bones, right? Unpaired and paired, right? So from paired and unpaired, what do we mean? I have told you before. Okay, so your face comprising of about total 14 bones. Let me write here total 14 bones. And what are those? What are their names? It's so simple. Let us discuss. First of all, what are the unpaired bones? There are only 2 unpaired bones in your face, right? And what are those? The first one is this one, right? You can see this is mandible, right? Mandible bone. And the second one which is present, which makes the nasal septum, this is called the vomer bone, right? What is this? This is vomer bone. So vomer bone and mandible bone, these are the unpaired bone of your face. So let me write them here. One is vomer bone and the second one is mandible bone, right? These are the unpaired bones. And now let's go towards the paired bones. What are the paired bones? Okay, so there will be about 6 paired bones, 12 and 2, 14. So what are those? Let us name them fastly. Those paired bones, how many we have? Look carefully. First of all, there are two zygomatic bones. As you can see here, these are the zygomatic bones. So let me write their names here with this blue color. Zygomatic bones, right? Then there are two maxilla, right? These are maxillary bones or maxilla. So we have, which makes the upper jaw, right? So these are the maxillary bones. So we say maxilla or maxillary bones, right? Then there are the two lacrimal bones. What are those? Those are the two lacrimal bones. Lacrimal bones. Then there are two nasal bones, right? At this point we have the nasal bones. So let me write here their name, nasal bones, right? And then we have there the inferior nasal conchae, right? Inside your nose you have conchae, and what are conchae I will discuss later. So we have inferior nasal conchae, right? And then we have two palatine bones. Palatine bones, right? So if you open the mouth of this person, you will find the palate there, right? The hard palate, right? So that hard palate is composed of how many bones? Two bones, the right and the left. So these are paired bones. So we say how many zygomatic bones? Two. Maxillary bones, two. Lacrimal bones, two. Nasal bones, two. Inferior nasal conchae, two. And palatine bones, two. So total 6, right? So, I'm sorry, total 12, right? And 12, 13 and 14. So these are unpaired bones, right? So how many total? 14 bones, right, friends? Okay, then let's count the total number of bones in your head, right? As I have written here, head. So head is divided into how many parts? Two parts, the cranium and the face. The cranium is subdivided into narrow cranium and Bezocranium. As I told you before, the narrow cranium is the upper part and the Bezocranium lies below the brain. Above the brain and below the brain. Below the brain there are two bones, sphenoid bone and ethmoid bone. Above the brain there are two groups of bones, unpaired bones and paired bones. Unpaired bones are frontal bone and occipital bone. Paired bones are two parietal and two temporal bones, right? And then in your face, I told you that there are two groups of bones, unpaired bones and paired bones. Unpaired bones are vomer bone, mandible bone. Paired bones are zygomatic, maxillary, right? Then there are lacrimal, then there are nasal, then there are inferior nasal conchae, and then there are palatine bones. So total 14, but let's count once again. How many bones are present in your head? In your cranium, total 8. How many bones are present in your face? Total 14. So it makes how much? About 22 bones. But we should not forget the ear ossicles. So 3 small bones are present in your right ear and 3 small bones are present in your left ear. So we say how many total ear ossicles? 6 ear ossicles. If I draw the diagram here, right, if this is your outer ear, then this is external acoustic meatus, right, and then here is your ear drum or tympanic membrane, and you know that there is a room like part of your bone of your ear. This is called middle ear, and inside the middle ear, you know, you have what? You have 3 small ossicles like this, right? So this is Milius, incus, and this is stapes, right? So these 3 are also bones, right? So we have 3 small bones in the right ear and 3 small bones in the left ear. So how many total? 6 bones in your ear, right? So let me write this important point in this area. Look, let us write it 6 ear ossicles, right? Why? Because these ear ossicles are bones, and these bones are also the parts of your head. In your head you have bones, right? So how many total? 8 and 14, 22, and 22 plus 6. How many total bones in your head you have? 28 bones you have in your head. That's very good, we know that. Okay, this was the division of the bones of your head, my dear friends. Now let's go towards your thoracic cavity or thoracic cage and its bones. Look carefully. Your thoracic cage is made by what? It is made anteriorly by your sternum and posteriorly by your vertebral column. And what is used? The ribs or thoracic bones are used, right? So let me write here, in your thoracic cage you have what? First of all, you have sternum, right? And how many sterna you have? You have only one sternum. And then, my dear friends, you have ribs, or we say these are called costal bones. Costal bones, right? So the ribs are costal bones, and there is sternum. How many total ribs you have? You have a total 12 multiplied by 2. I mean total 24 ribs or costal bones you have, and they are divided into different groups. Let's see their divisions here. Look carefully, friends. Look. First of all, we have those ribs which are connected to the sternum, right? We have those ribs, those classes of ribs which are connected directly to your sternum. And then we have those ribs which are connected to your sternum indirectly through the cartilages of other ribs. And then we have certain ribs which are not connected to your sternum. So there are 3 groups of your costal bones, and these are, the first group are, ribs are divided into true ribs, and what are true ribs? Listen carefully. Those ribs which are connected to your vertebral column, right? You know, vertebral column, okay? And then anteriorly these ribs come and directly connect to your sternum. Those are called true ribs. What are true ribs? Once again, listen, my dear friends. Those ribs which are connected to the sternum as well as to your vertebral column directly, those are called true ribs, right? So let me write here, they are connected to sternum directly, right? These are called true ribs. And how many bones, how many costal bones are connected to your sternum directly? Let's count. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So how many true ribs you have? You have 7 true ribs on both sides. 7 on this side, 7 on that side, right and left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you have 7 true ribs. 7 multiplied by 2. You have total 14 true ribs. Yeah, we know this. 7 on this side, 7 on that side. Then there are false ribs. False ribs. And what are false ribs? Look carefully. False ribs are those ribs, right, which are connected to the sternum. Yeah, we know, but not directly, right? But not directly. They are connected to the sternum by the connections of these, this last cartilage of the 7th true rib, right? So these are connected to the sternum not directly. They are connected to the sternum through the other ribs. We say these are called false ribs, right? So connected to sternum through other ribs, or we say through 7th true rib, right? And how many are these? These are 1, 2, 3. 3 false ribs we have. So we have 3 multiplied by 2, a total of 6 false ribs. You have 3 on this side and 3 on that side. You have 6 false ribs. And then you have the third group of ribs, and these are called the floating ribs. Floating ribs. And floating ribs are those ribs which are connected to your vertebral column, right, but not connected to your sternum. Look carefully, they come up to here only, right? So they don't go forward and don't connect with your sternum or other ribs. So these are called your false floating ribs, right? So floating ribs are how many? There are 2 floating ribs on right side and 2 floating ribs on left side. So let me write it here. They are not connected to sternum. How many they are? They are 2 multiplied by 2, which is total 4. So how many ribs you have? You have 14 plus 6, 20 plus 4, 24 ribs you have. And I have written here, our thoracic cage contains how many ribs or costal bones? 24 costal bones and 1 sternum. So total we have how much bones in your thoracic cage? You have 25 bones, right? 25 bones here, and 28 bones are present in your head, right friends? This was the classification of the head, cranium and face, and the bones of your thoracic cage, that is sternum and ribs. Now we move towards your vertebral column. Your vertebral column is a column of bones which are made by vertebrae, right? A column of bones which is present on the dorsal side of your body, and this column of bones is made by your vertebrae, right? Right. So this is vertebral column. Now let's see these bones, and we will discuss the anatomy of each bone in detail in the next coming lectures. Don't worry guys. Look, the vertebral column is first of all made by vertebrae, and these vertebrae, this vertebral column is present in the center of your body and the dorsal side. You know, this is ventral side and that is dorsal side. So it is present dorsally, right? And it is a part of your axial skeleton, right? And we have different groups of vertebra. What are those? Those vertebra which are present in your neck region. So these are called the cervical vertebra. Those vertebra which are present in your thoracic region, these are called thoracic vertebra. And those vertebra which are present in your abdominal region, those are called lumbar vertebra. And those vertebra which are present in coccygeal region, those are called coccygeal and sacral vertebra, right? So let's see how many vertebra do we have. Let us discuss, right? So vertebral column, what is vertebral column? Column of vertebrae present, right, in dorsum of body, right? And we have how many groups of vertebra? We have the first group of vertebra are the cervical vertebra. Cervical vertebra are present in, as I told you before, in the neck region, right? Let me write it here, in neck region, right? And these are how many cervical vertebra? We have 7 cervical vertebra, and we will discuss the anatomy later, don't worry. Then we have the next group, these are called the thoracic vertebra. Thoracic vertebra, and the thoracic vertebra are present in which region? They are present in chest or thorax region. Thorax region. And how many we have? We have 12 thoracic vertebra. How many? We have 12 thoracic vertebra. So look, from here then starts your thoracic vertebra, right? And you know this is present dorsal to your thoracic cavity. So we said these are called the thoracic vertebra, right? And then you have your lumbar vertebra, right? So the fourth one, the third one are the lumbar vertebra, and the lumbar vertebra is present in your abdomen region or lumbar region, right? And how many lumbar vertebra you have? You have 5 lumbar vertebra, 5, right? So we have C7, C means cervical, T12, T means thoracic, and how many vertebra? 12 vertebra. And we have L5, so L means lumbar, we have 5 lumbar vertebra. And then we have the fourth group, which are called the sacral vertebra, right? What are these? These are sacral. And how many sacral vertebra we have? We have 5 sacral vertebra. So sacral, right? And then we have coccygeal. So how many are they? They are 4. So sacral vertebra are 5 and coccygeal vertebra are 4. Now listen, one thing which is very important for here, my dear friends. You know that this is, some books say that this bone is considered as only one bone. But some books say that these are total 9 bones but fused together strongly and they make one bone. So if you call it only one bone, that is correct. If you call it 9 bones, that is more and more precise, right? So we say here are how many sacral vertebra? We have 5 sacral, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And how many coccygeal? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 coccyx bones or coccygeal bones. So total 5 and 4, 9, and all these 9 fuse together and they make one bone, which is called the sacral bone or coccygeal bone, right friends? Okay, so let's count these bones which are present in your vertebral column. So we have cervical vertebra 7, thoracic vertebra 12, so how many total? 19. We have lumbar vertebra 5, 24. We have sacral vertebra 5, 29. We have coccygeal vertebra 4. Total 33 bones. 33 bones, right? So in your axial skeleton, you have divided the axial skeleton into 3 groups, into 3 parts, right? This is the head, the thoracic cage and the vertebral column. The head is divided into cranium and face. The thoracic cage consists of sternum and ribs, true ribs, false ribs and floating ribs, and the vertebral column consists of the cervical vertebra, the thoracic vertebra, the lumbar vertebra, the sacral vertebra and the coccygeal vertebra, right? So how many total bones are present in your axial skeleton? Let's count that. Total bones in your axial skeleton, look, 28 plus 25, that is 53, and 53 plus 33, right, that is about 86 bones, right? So in your axial skeleton you have total 86 bones you have in your axial skeleton. So my dear friends, this was the division. These are all the bones which are present in your axial skeleton, and we will see all these bones while I will show you all these bones practically. We will have a practical on this man and we will record those bones and we will name all those bones in the next coming lectures. Now in the next video we will go towards your appendicular skeleton and we will try to know all the bones which are present in your appendicular skeleton. As I told you before that your skeleton is divided into axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton, right? So let's go towards the bones of your appendicular skeleton. See you in the next lecture.